Hello everyone, this is C2 here, and today I bring you a tour of my base after, I believe, the extent of where we'll take this game save. As of update 8, uh, I've reached pretty much the end of the tech. Everything I can unlock is unlocked, and as you can see, there's on the top right, I'm finishing phase 4 with only, I believe those are directory systems left. We will check a bit on that later. But yeah, I wanted to do a quick tour of the base, show you what's involved, I guess, in finishing this game right now, which seems to scale very exponentially during phase 4. My critique would be like if you check here, load game. Currently, we are over 500 hours on this thing. That may be a bit too much for most people. It was okay for me. That took me about 2 months or so, maybe a month and a half. Yeah, a bit extreme. But to be real, the last 3 days have been me standing here waiting for parts to come in, so not too much to worry about there. But yeah, let's take a look real quick of what I call ground base here, which is basically where I started. You can see the hub there. I haven't moved it all game, so it started there. It's gonna finish there. There's this atrocity of a mistake where early game I made my machines too close to those, so I ran out of space to make more ingots for the production. So I had to go up, create one of the many floating platforms I've made for this playthrough, and yeah, this brings us to switch that for a moment. This is still mostly what was here at first. There was modular frames here at some point, but in any case, right now the only thing left here is rotors and plates, which head into the drone system, which I'll show you a bit later. And next we have, well, the most important stuff. We have limestone to create a bunch of concrete to build with, which I've used a lot. As you can see, a bunch of platforms. Then we have the initial copper stuff that does everything that has to do with copper, from cables, wires, and uh, plates. That's pretty much it. Here we had a manually crafting stuff, well, semi-automated stuff, where I would put a recipe in there and put components there to just slowly craft them. Mostly, I did all the parts before this phase 4 through manual process like this. We have the beautiful space elevator that's getting filled. And then we have a little drone that's coming in with the last few parts. As I mentioned, director systems. It should be just a few per minute. As you can see, it's really slow. I believe it's due to computers at the other end. We might see a bit later. Here was the bio parts where I would drop wood and what's the name, like bushes and stuff from trees that would create fiber and stuff. I believe there's some left. Yeah, fabric. So that's the boring part. Now let's go check some other stuff. Let's get start. Let's go west. All right, let's go west. So as you can see, a bunch of cannons are available. First base is gonna be the steel base, steel factory. Um, this has been remade into a simple steel component farm. As you can see, it's doing its job. It's piling up now, which is good because we are probably not using much of them these days. Then over here, well, we have where the steel was being made, and then it's being sent over here. Here we have a very. I feel like it's a well-made system. The belts are a bit like spaghetti here, but the job is being made. This all makes encased rods, and as you will see through my factories, there's a few. Essentially, the setup is a drone will go and fetch batteries with initial batteries, then we'll spread them across every what I call accessors, which is essentially drones that will go get parts from central storage and bring them here to craft with. And then I believe the final result is being put in another drone that will be shipped into a dumpy, which we will see a bit later. Now let's go back to the next setup, which I believe is quick wire and AI limiters. Um, by the way, if you're not using biodiesel fuel with your jetpack, you should. Now let's go there. Let's do it this way. So as we are edited out there, yeah, that part is a bit strange. I made it so that it would maximize the nodes that are being used in terms of resources, but I didn't end up maximizing them. So there's too many machines that's ready if we want to push the uh, the needs forward, but I didn't need them. So instead, we're using the quick wire in other systems. Like as you can see, there's a bit of yellow here. It's a bit different. So we have a bunch of copper plates being made there, and we have the quick wire being made here, which go through here. Then whatever quick wire we're not using is being sent by drone with the AI limiters. Just that simple. In this case, this is just what I call a dumpy, uh, which needs batteries. But it gets it from where it drops instead of receiving them through another one. Next, we're headed what I call Coal Lake, which was initially a double 8 refinery. Uh, a double 8 coal uh, powered generators. But I didn't need it at some point because we are now around, I believe, 38 to 40k megawatts. Um, so that's it. So this side of the map was made before I found out about uh, hypertube cannons, which we will use soon enough. But let's take a look real quick at what's here now. We have a plastics factory. At some point, I needed a lot more plastics, so now we have plastic. Essentially, this is all being routed through there, and then we have a bunch of assemblers here that make motors with the rods that we made. So these motors, this is essentially a motor, which is good. It was very useful. I can remove MAMs from everywhere because now the MAM is done. I have done everything. So yeah, this is a motor factory. And then if we go a bit more north, we have the first aluminum setup that I made. Wow. Now that was an experience. Learning about recycling um, for water was annoying. Let's just say it like that. It was. I wish that's a process that wouldn't exist, but it does. It's kind of interesting because it makes factory automating a bit more challenging, which honestly is good. The next step, though, would be it kind of forces you into waste sinking water somehow. But as you will see now, that factory is a mess. It changed purpose like 3 times. It's now, I believe, aluminum casings, aluminum, what's the name? Clad sheets. And there's another manufacturer in the back. We'll go check it real soon. All right. So we have our basic stuff that does, um, that makes aluminum ingots, I guess. Auto saving. Woo! Okay, so we have a first blender here. I believe that does fused frames, which is backed up at the other end, but that's cool. Um, and then I believe most of the work being done here these days, as you can see, this was the first beta test for drones delivery. This is this factory here for high-speed connectors. This is pretty much what's being done here. And this is receiving silica from the quartz deposit in there with the crystals being sent to. Um, and then we go a little bit to the next factory. Well, not quite factory, you will see. This was the first power expansion that was flat, that used a whole node of crude oil, um, which honestly was, it's not perfect, but it's a damn good design, and I'm kind of glad that I did it. It was a nice experience. Um, this will probably be our last visit by Hypertubes. Um, so yeah, on this coast we have two things. There's a power factory, I guess, made through fuel, and we have a small platform that does, believe, see that this is just a modular factory, I would say. So it gets some oil, I think, or water. I'm not sure anymore. We'll go check. But yes, this entire full setup here is 133 fuel generators, going through a setup of 16 blenders here. That was fun to make with the diluted fuel uh, recipe. Yeah, just that simple. A bunch of factories. Next, we have this little thing here, like I mentioned. Let's go take a look. Well, as you can see, we are. I don't know why. I'm just a fan of elevated platforms. Just water slowly going up here. So this thing literally only receives batteries and a few parts and ships them. And all it does is cooling systems. That's literally just it. It was a nice spot. I don't know why I made it here. Um, maybe a flex with drones. I don't know. So, and yes, that's a geyser of nitrogen. Yeah. Next, we are going to go back home and go on the East Coast, and this gives you. Wait. Well, yeah, we can't see much. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's check whatever is here as soon as we can see it. It's probably my biggest modular um, factory, which essentially just receives a bunch of stuff and crafts a component. With my latest addition, there being computers. I kind of like this setup, but it. By the way, things are kind of daisy chained one to the other, so it kind of makes the setup a bit complex. But this is crystal oscillators with, I believe, radios here. Is that what it is? Yep, radio components with supercomputers, right? Yep. And then which one is this? Turbo motors, and to finish, just good old computers. If I was smart, I would probably redirect the computers here to, you know, supercomputers. But instead, I'm just sending them back home and it's shipping and it's just, you know, simple, I guess. I'm lazy, okay? Sue me. Next step is showing you what we did. Uh, I need to stop seeing what I did. Here is a heavy frame back. I mean modular frames, which, as you can guess, creates everything from scratch here, ends up in these assemblers for modular frames. I have made since then another modular frames factory, therefore I could technically feed that through drones. But I don't know. I didn't feel the need for it. And then let's get up to the central storage, which is probably uh, the most ambitious and most full of errors system I've ever made in a video game. Uh, the idea of central storage is a challenging one. As you can see, drones are flying over the base. They wait a bit. There's concurrency issues for sushi belts. There's a few interesting things that I would do differently. But yes, welcome to the storage. Essentially, well, I don't need anything anymore. I'm done, right? So I made this little box here to essentially use the same filtering system that I had before. Let's keep those, I guess. Emergencies and stuff. Anyway, this will slowly, I believe, trickle in and end up either in a sink or in a box. Essentially, the system from upstairs, we will see them. The first row is only drones that are called dumpies. They receive materials which then get sorted, and eventually you just end up here on this sushi belt that just, you know, keep things organized, which then on the other side, which is a total mess, uh, sending them to accessor drones, which uh, will essentially receive drones from those platforms you saw earlier, uh, and then just ship them wherever needed, which is fun. It was a nice setup. I don't know how this could be done better. I'm assuming it's just a question of organizing things better up front, maybe? I don't know. But this ends up being, for the moment, a very nice grid of drones that send all the materials we need elsewhere. So see, those drones come from elsewhere and come get materials in these accessors. And these are all waiting to dump their stuff. I probably would have made maybe another set on the other side. The problem is it would end up being a mess because right now the belts are being bit congested, like I'm starting to. So here we have Crystal Lake, which is honestly probably the better source of oil. And through this place, we're doing a bunch of stuff. This was my initial setup where I had rubber and plastic and a lot of oil making power to these generators. Eventually, that became unnecessary, but they're still there. And then, secondly, we created a bunch of contraption for different things. Like in this case, it's just another test of fuel through diluted fuel for another array of power here. And then, what do we have? Um, there was another refinery setup that I just did recently here that makes. What's this? I need to get better jumping. This one makes. Oh yeah, it's 800 per minute rubber setup, which I believe. Well, 780 because of the belts, but yeah, this thing is not fast enough. I would need to make a second one so that we can ship more. Um, but probably it would be congested anyway. And then we have a second setup here for oil that does more crafting. In this case, this is iron, I believe. This was for computers. Initially, it was for computers. It's very bad. Um, uh, Honestly, it's just like 6 per minute. I could probably do more, but in any way, the new setup over there does 16, so that's enough. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this. I would say the east side, and now let's go a bit north for the final stuff. First, the first stop is going to be right here. And you can see a beautiful platform that was way too big for what it ended up doing, which I'm really bad at sizing in advance. This is a factory for batteries. This was a major expansion for batteries. It was initially at the other aluminum stuff. This is just very needed. This entire factory is two setups, back to back. I believe it does 240 batteries per minute. So it was a fun project. Next in the distance, uh, as you could see, there's a neat setup right there that is turbo fuel based. That does sadly, um, it's kind of the same output, man. I believe it's 20,000 too. It's just done more neatly. Maybe I did something wrong, but yes, that's also 140 whatever. It's just the input that's basically smaller. These all do turbo. Anyhow, this was my other 20,000 setup, which I believe, how many? It's probably not all working right now. Yeah, 39,000. Um, yeah, it was a fun experience. It's very neat. It's beautiful. And then we add to the final part. Why I say final part? Because it does everything that is remaining, and that's phase 4 material. On I've set it up in essentially one floor is one phase. So the first phase done smart plating and stuff. This is just processing iron. Um, and then here we're making yeah, that's just wire. This goes in here, then is being spread on I believe the stators, and on the other side there was rather here cables, and at some facility there was normally where are they? In any case, oh, they were on phase 2, so all this stuff goes up to the next floor, and this is what was needed for well, beside the batteries, this was everything that's needed for this floor, and we go up just a bit onto floor 2. That does the same. We receive all our stuff for floor 2. In this floor, we go from we make the smart platings, and then automated wiring too. And what else? Yeah, this is all automated wiring, and this all goes to the next floor, which then uses it to make the next level of stuff. In this case, I believe that this was modular engines, which are probably not necessary anymore, so it's backstuffing. Most of this base will be backstuff at this point. The only thing that's actually shut down is the three phase 4 materials upstairs. Um, so yes, here we're making frameworks, receiving everything we needed for floor 2, which I believe was the biggest. And then we have floor 4 here at the very top that also receives batteries, and this all receives stuff to make what's needed for the final parts. Here we had pressure conversion cubes. That's headed into those for pastas, nuclear pastas. I'm getting hungry. Nuclear pasta, which we don't need anymore. We have a bunch of stuff coming for assembly directory systems. As you can see, it's doing its thing, but again, we're not pushing enough computers. Probably, honestly, the those things are costly, like a lot, maybe too much. Then, yeah, as you can see, we're not backstuffing on adaptive control units, so computers downstairs are not filling up. And this part here is literally just making copper for the copper powder for nuclear pasta. That was a lot. I believe it's is it 1,800 copper, something like that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's magnetic field generators. I love this setup. It's so clean, so clean. I love it. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this world, to be honest. Maybe we'll be coming back for update 9 or 1.0. I don't know. My next playthrough will be modded. Um, and probably a new game plus with everything unlocked and stuff like that, and just build good bases that are not just floors floating in the air. This was practical. This was more of a test of how can we do things. How do we get there? And this was what I ended up finding out. Next run is probably gonna have a lot of trucks and trains, but not yet. I want to come back at a later point. I've got other games to play for the moment. So this is C2. If you watch until the end, hit that comment section and say something. And if you didn't, well, I don't know why I'm talking to you. Have a good day. Bye bye.